I had an interesting dream,
Yeah.
or maybe it was on the edge of falling asleep. Mm. But, you know, like just images come to mind.
Yes.
And there was a person standing behind me, and you know, like this play or joke when someone stands behind you and covers your eyes, but they covered my ears.
Okay.
The strange things, but mind with this mind images. And then this person changed to my father.
Your father.
Father.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And in this moment, I had this fear reaction, like flight reaction, was just run,
Yep. Yep.
run away. Like a reaction to physical danger.
Yes. 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 So really visceral. Yeah.
Yes. And I remembered that when I was a teenager, I had a talk with my father, and he was telling me about this body reactions, that I should listen to them. And somehow he was convinced that it's my mother that should evoke this reaction.
Yes.
Because she is more assertive. And in that moment, while I was talking with him, I've realized that I am, you know, like through this whole talk, I'm keeping my shit together, just not to run away.
Mm.
That this reaction is going on as we speak.
Okay. So what did you make of what did you imagine that your subconscious was telling you from that?
It's just run away. It has
Okay,
there is no way.
why cover your ears and not your eyes? When they cover your eyes, normally it says they then say guess who, right? So that you're meant to guess, but you knew who it was, but he was covering your ears, stopping you from hearing something.
I don't know.
Okay. But you could also say that because you were keeping your shit together, that you were, I don't know if the word finally fits, but you were finally able to hear something because you knew who it was. And when he turned into your father, he no longer had his hands over your ears.
He had,
He still had his hands over your ears. Yes.
yes.
Okay. So there was. So whether it's accurate to say you didn't want to hear or he didn't want you to hear, in the dream, it's like he didn't want you to hear something.
Mm, maybe it's more like, you know, that it is a play, a joke, that someone comes
Yes, yes.
from behind, and but my father is so so socially not well adapted, but he doesn't know the place.
Yes, yes, he wouldn't joke like that. Yeah, yeah.
No. He doesn't know the right way to play.
Oh, I see. So he accidentally put his hands over his ears because he didn't know that he should be putting them over
Y-
your eyes.
Yeah,
Okay.
because he thinks he has some vague idea
Yes,
about,
yes. You got it. Right. Right.
but maybe I'm just making the story as we go.
Sure, sure, sure. Look, yeah, but you know, we don't. We these things are no accident, you know, and they're not random.
Mm.
They, you know, it is us speaking to ourselves, even though we may not be able to interpret it. Where there is a movement, there is something being shown, even if we don't know what it is. Yeah, and a really significant part of that seems to me to be that you were able to overcome your fear reaction, that you were able to stay and it's like you were willing for something. You were courageous enough to hang in there.
There there was just no logical reason to run away.
Oh, okay, okay. So what it means that just says to me that you you overcame the emotional uh, response of avoidance of running away. Yeah.
You know,
Which,
it's even that it's true, because runaway is on gut level.
yes,
It's
but
a
he was
gut
telling you,
reaction. But my heart reaction was, if I run away, I will hurt him. I should talk to him. I should try to understand him.
right? Okay, well, that's big. Don't you think?
Hmm?
So, don't you think that's big? That you should try to understand him, whereas
I think I
previously
should have listened to my gut.
you should have run away, not listen to your heart, but listen to your gut. Yeah. So at a conscious level, you would always listen to your gut and avoid him. You know, there is a judgment about him, isn't there? At least I've heard it in the past that there is a judgment about him that he has nothing worth listening to.
Well, it was on the gut level. It's more.
Right.
It's that he's dangerous.
Okay. Okay. Now, which one did he tell you to listen to previously? Did he tell you to listen to your gut or listen to your heart?
Just to my body. It's I think he meant gut.
Right. Right. But you didn't. You listened to your heart this time.
I mean, I listened in the sense that I was aware
Yes. Yes. And you didn't run
of
away.
this.
Yeah. Yeah. You overcame your.
Well, there was no logical reason.
Oh,
It was not dangerous.
now you're talking to your head.
Yes, that is my head talking.
Mm.
So my head was saying he is not dangerous. He never once in his life hit me or
Yes. Yes.
yelled at me.
Mm. So, what do you
And my
imagine?
heart level was, I should listen to him. I should give him attention.
Yes. Find out more. So your head and your heart were in sync. They collaborated, and you stayed, right? Ignoring the gut that said run away. Did anything happen when you stayed that made it staying worthwhile or productive?
Well, I've learned about my gut reaction.
Okay, okay, that's a good one. Yeah, yeah. And the difference between your heart and your gut, that they can be in conflict. Yes. And then your head says, listen to your heart, not your gut. That's something. Hmm.
But now my head says it was mistake.
Oh no. Right. Your head says go back to the old way of relating to him.
What is the old way?
Well, hey, that what you've been carrying around with you about him, which is gut again, I guess, isn't it? So how do you imagine is he dangerous? What's the
I don't know. It
yeah,
still makes no sense.
yeah, I get it. Yeah. Yeah. So danger of course can mean lots of things. It doesn't mean that he's going to start hitting you or hurting you or whatever like that. It may mean that if you have compassion, it will take you into a dangerous place. That a fear place of your own maybe. Um, by following your heart, being open to him. That's where the danger is, rather than in him per se.
Um, Maybe, but following compassion is sometimes enabling,
Yes, yeah.
and
And what?
it's not good neither for me, neither for him.
Yes. So can you be explicit about what it would enable, what it might enable in him? It would enable him to cross a boundary.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe it's more, I'm using it as a comparison that following compassion is not always a good
Yes.
thing.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
And maybe this is what my mind is telling now.
Mm,
You should have followed the gut.
yeah. It's interesting how we can have conflicting things living side by side in us. The gut and the heart saying different things at the same time, all in us. Yeah.
Well, what my heart was telling was something that I was
Something
that
that you would what?
taught that I should be compassionate. I should try to understand. I shouldn't blame.
Right. Which goes against everything that you've previously thought, or goes against what you're.
No, this
No?
is what I previously thought.
That your heart's
because
what your heart says, yes. Okay.
what my heart was saying was what I was taught from the books,
Right,
from
right. Yeah, okay. So
since
yes.
kindergarten. All the books were saying you should
Yes.
be compassionate,
Yeah.
love is the way, and so on.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm. So somehow that your heart got that via your head. When you read it, when you were taught it, it was an intellectual thing, and then your heart grabbed hold of that.
Yes, there is, it is, um, it is also hard because it feels so nice. All these things about love.
Mm, mm. But they're dangerous.
They can be,
Yeah.
depends on circumstances.
Mm. But when with your father, would you go as far as to say they will be dangerous?
It's just a gut feeling
Mm,
that I feel in danger. I don't know what it means.
mm, mm, mm. These things are really interesting. I see them as a stick in a hornet's nest or poking the bear, that kind of thing. So we don't need answers to them at this stage, but they open us up to possibilities. And so something's moving, something's happening, something's stirring when we look at these kind of things. And if we're patient and relax, often we'll get clarity about that. Yeah. If we go chasing it, we won't. We don't need to chase it. Just be open to whatever turns up. You're muted again now.
For now, I guess it makes my anger more understandable
Yes.
because there is this fear underneath.
Mm, mm. Yes. Even though we don't know, the fear's not logical or not tangible, but we know it's there. Yeah. And that story that I have that often reveals itself, that what we have is layer upon layer upon layer with some usually very illogical uh, fear down underneath, but we avoid the fear by thinking often how we think, and sometimes by activity, and in some other ways sometimes too. That but so what it would seem to me is that recognizing that there is fear there is a tangible step closer to what goes on underneath, what we haven't shown ourselves yet at a conscious level. But that, I mean, that's just a story. That's speculation. Who knows? But yeah, it sounds good to me. It sounds like a movement in the right direction. Mm. So what runs around in my head now is something I'd never thought before, but a realization that when we're very, very young, our two parents, our mother and our father, appear to us very differently, depending on, of course, on their behavior, but they have different roles. And for a very young person, depending on the nature of the father and the work that he does, etc., we see him almost occasionally. And if he's not a touchy-feely person and picks us up and holds us, which a lot of fathers are not, especially when babies are very young, then he can appear to us to be one way. Right? Something a bit of a mystery maybe or whatever, but in whatever one way. But as we get older, our attitude, our how he appears to us changes, and at some point, you uh, seem to have a fairly sophisticated, more mature way of looking at your father, and with that came disdain. But when you were very, very young, that would not have been there. It would have come at a certain age when your critical thinking got going, kind of thing. It's
Uh,
just
it's very early memories. I remember when I was 4 years old, situations where there was this disdain.
already at 4 years old. Wow. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I don't remember much before this,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
if anything at all.
Yeah. So even such an early age to develop that critical thinking. I mean, there it is. But you go back to 2 years old, and logically, I mean, we can't even though we can't remember, but logically, you wouldn't have had that attitude towards him. It would have been something else. Who knows what? But yeah, certainly. Um, yeah.
Oh, maybe it was like he can put me in danger because he doesn't know his way around.
Yes.
He doesn't know how to behave in the world.
Yeah. Yep. 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 But you wouldn't recognize that as a 2-year-old, but as a 4-year-old, you
No.
did. Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty amazing. And I
Uh,
wonder if there was a single event or even multiple events that happened that generated that attitude towards him at 4 years old. Uh, it wouldn't have come from nothing. If something would have triggered it, a realization
I
happened
don't.
for you. Yes, yes. Yeah, don't chase it. Don't chase it. If it wants to show itself, it will. Or not. Who knows? Yeah, yeah. But very interesting. Really interesting stuff.
And it may sound very adult, but I'm just putting in words a vague feelings
Yes,
of a
yes, yeah,
4-year-old. I wouldn't say it like that. It's a 4-year-old.
yes,
I was just feeling uncomfortable,
yeah, yeah.
and that's all.
Yeah, but that discomfort was also protective, wasn't it? The result of the discomfort would be the establishment of a boundary. So even if the 4-year-old couldn't express it in terms that you just did as an adult, still that perception of what was going on involved head and gut.
No, I'm just translating it into words through head,
Yeah, yeah.
but it was on gut level.
It wasn't.
In my head, it was rather, you are wrong for feeling that because you have no reason to feel that.
Mm. But the 4-year-old,
And so this feeling of fear and discomfort was suppressed
yeah,
because it was not logical and
yeah.
not ethical. That's a big word. But I mean on a heart level.
Mm. Can you can you imagine, it may or may not be true, but can you imagine that whatever that experience was at 4 that brought about that response, that has shaped your whole life since then? That has been a foundation upon which you view the world?
That is very probable.
Yeah, it's only speculation, of course. Yeah. Yeah. And and this leads into another story that I have, that essentially that part of you, that 4-year-old, is still alive in you. That is still shaping the way
Yes,
you
she
see the
is.
world. Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. You would, with most 4-year-olds, you would say yes. The heart and the gut would be the prime movers in everything, and not so much the head. But in your case, it would seem like the head certainly was involved at that age. You were a pretty intelligent child. Yeah.
And awfully self-righteous.
Well, that's probably part of the defensive stuff too. Yeah,
I've read the books. I know the ethics.
yeah. Okay.
I'm better than anyone else.
Yeah.
Uh, what obnoxious brat I had.
Yeah. Ooh.
I still am.
Mhm. Have you been, Ramesh?
It's tough.
I didn't quite get that. Say it again.
I said it's been tough.
I've been tough. Yes, got it. Yeah.
I had somewhat of a nightmare. Um, it was a sense of panic. Um, in the dream, I was just helpless.
Were you paralyzed in the dream?
No, I was moving. I was
Yep.
in a panic. And it felt more intense than, I don't know, emotions in dreams are more intense. And when I woke up, I wasn't able to move. Mm.
What was the nature of being unable to move when you wake up? Were you just exhausted, or were you frozen, like as in immobile, like paralyzed again?
It felt like heartbreak.
And that what related? That's what translated into being unable to move when you woke up. That heartbreak.
I don't know, maybe.
Mm. So was it more like you were just unable to will your body into action? That kind of unable to move?
I wasn't trying. I didn't want to move.
Right. Right. Okay. And that left you swimming in the heartbreak, immersed in the heartbreak. Is that how it was? Unable to move meant that you allowed yourself to experience the heartbreak. You didn't dismiss it and get up and do things. You stayed with it.
I tried, but my mind was very agitated and it felt so painful.
So would you say your mind was trying to rescue you from it?
Yeah, it was kind of a distraction.
Hmm. Were there any tangible stories about the heartbreak? Glimpses, images?
Um, I can experience it from like two different perspectives. One is related to someone, a relationship, and
Hmm.
the other perspective feels more broad, like ancient feeling.
Mm. Ancient as in even before you were born?
I don't know.
Ancient as in um, out there or in here? Is it less personal? Was ancient less personal?
Um,
See, when you say ancient, it's you didn't say old. If you said old, I would go, that's probably you're talking about in you. When you say ancient, it could be outside of you, you know, from way back. It could be a intergenerational thing, or it could be, you know, who knows? Yeah, it just has a different feel about it.
earlier I had a cry that felt very painful. It was like the most painful cry I ever had. I felt like my brain is just splitting in half or crushed.
Would you go as far as to say that some part of you was wanting to take the head out of action about something? Stop thinking about it, it was saying. Listen to your body. I mean, these are just stories that come to mind here. I don't know how accurate they might be. But your gut will tell you. Your intuition will tell you. I see again your furrowed brow, the tension in your forehead right now. Something is saying, stop thinking about it. I've never noticed it before, but you seem to have a quite developed musculature above your left eye in your forehead. Most people have no apparent muscles in their forehead, but yours are noticeable. I mean, I presume what I see there in you is a muscle. It seems quite tangible. I mean, that could be a misinterpretation as well. Yeah.
There is a lot of pressure in my head, in my face. I can't relax it,
Mm, mm.
even if I try.
Would you go as far as to say that it feels like a mask you've got on?
Yeah, it feels like a mask.
So, once upon a time, say knights would put a helmet on to protect them, so it would have a mask face as a way of protecting them. But in a different context, people would put on a mask in order not to reveal who they are. So would you say that let's call it a mask for want of a better way to describe it, would you say that that's stopping you from showing who you are or protecting you from something outside? Just first thing that comes to mind. Don't worry about logic. There's no logic to this stuff.
Feels like both.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. What jumps up into my mind here is that if it's keeping you from revealing yourself, it's because if you reveal yourself, it puts you in danger, and then it becomes necessary to protect you from the outside. Does that, how does that feel for you? Again, we're not looking at details, just a feeling thing.
Yeah, it feels not safe to relax.
Yep. Okay. And by relax also means showing yourself, revealing yourself. That's what would happen if you relaxed, eh? Mm. So tell me the first thing that jumps into mind when I ask you this. What do you imagine would be the nature of the danger that would come from relaxing? It seemed to me you just pulled back from something. Listening to your inner voices. Did you see what that took you close to?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, what you just experienced was a fairly intense emotion, and that would have been triggered by something. That would have been there because you got close to some, whatever you want to call it, some issue, some something, and then you had that reaction to it. Did you see what it was that triggered that reaction in you? It was incredibly emotional, wasn't it? It was hugely emotional. And I imagine that your head would love to have kept you away from that. But in this case it didn't. It allowed you to get close to that, to experience that emotion. And that emotion still may have been a protective thing. It still may have been an attempt to keep you away, but it was an expression of something. And it was one giant step closer to whatever's there underneath.
It feels like it's like at an edge of something.
Mm. But you don't see what that something is. That's okay. That something still has a feeling for you, though, doesn't it? You still can feel the nature of it, even if you don't know what it is. Can you?
Feels a lot of things. It feels like fear, anger. It feels like I have lost a child.
Mm. Some heartfelt connection is gone, lost. I presume you haven't actually lost a child, an actual child, eh? You haven't had a
No,
child that's died, so yeah. So we could imagine that maybe this is a child in you that is gone. We often would the term loss of innocence is it something that comes to mind here. I don't know how accurate, how
I had
appropriate it is. Yeah.
I had multiple dreams about having a child actually,
Hmm.
and it felt real, more real than real.
Yeah, yeah, we get that. Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
understand how.
That this again. See, I'm just a response bunny here. Things that come to mind from what you say, and what jumps up for me is that with your own child, you would be able to do it right, or you would be able to do it better than it was done for you when you were a child. What's when you dream of having a child, what is your relationship to that child? I'll bet you it's nothing like the relationship you experienced as a child with your parents,
It's
presumably. Yeah.
intense love and fear.
Intense love, did you say of what? Of fear?
Love and fear.
And fear. Yes, yes. Fear that what? You might get it wrong, or you might lose it. What's the fear about, do you think? What just comes to mind? Don't worry about logic.
Not being able to protect him.
Mm. So let's intensify that. Your fear that you would be unable to protect him.
Yeah,
So, so your child is a male.
yeah.
Yeah. So immediately the question arises here do you have a memory of not being protected at a time you needed protection as a child?
Yeah, there's memories.
Mhm. And would you go as far as to say that those experiences that you just had memories of are still alive in you and have shaped your experience in the world? totally separate from any logic. Just you jump in, Bianca, if you want.
Well, I also have a feeling that if I had a child, I wouldn't be able to protect it. But I I don't feel pain about it. I don't feel this lost connection. If it's the right word, this lost connection, because Vince said it like that. So I just wonder about where does this lost come from?
You have thoughts about that, Ramiz, or do you also wonder about that loss?
I don't know.
Hmm.
What comes to my mind when Bianca said she doesn't understand why she feels fear towards her father is that maybe it's not her fear, maybe that's his fear.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, boy, that brought tears to my eyes. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's both. Kids learn from their parents what should they fear just by watching their reaction.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We can learn by observation. And if it persists, we start to own it. We can see it as our own, when in fact it didn't start that way. Yeah. Oh, that's big, isn't it? So, in your dreams, as a father with a child that needs protecting, there is fear that you're going to be inadequate in protecting in your dream. Not, yeah, yeah.
Not necessarily about me, but not being in control in general. Things happens. And in the dreams, he's just a baby. He doesn't speak. He doesn't.
But he feels. And he does speak with body language, maybe not with words, but speaks with reactions, or maybe not in this case. So that tension goes right down into your neck. And I guess into your shoulders as well. Would you say, Ramiz, that sometimes your whole body is really tense? But would you say that it starts in your head and then bleeds down into your body? Does that feel right or wrong or nothing? What-
No, it's backward. It feels like the center is then in the throat,
Right.
and it spreads to my shoulders, back, and to my head.
Okay. So throat's a really interesting thing. So throat could be about expressing something, saying it, or it could be about swallowing something, something that if we can't swallow something, we just can't accept it. Or many other possibilities, I guess, that don't come to mind now. What are your thoughts about starting at the throat? what's that saying metaphorically? Well, just what comes to mind. Doesn't have to be accurate. Doesn't have to be meaningful. Is it not wanting to say something, or not wanting to swallow something, or what?
It's like my body telling me to keep quiet, to
Right.
hide.
So, yeah, not wanting to say something. Yeah. Keep quiet. Don't express that, whatever it is. Mm. So when the tension radiates out into your body and into your head, would you say that the feeling in your head is still a body feeling? It's still the body. It's got nothing to do with thinking. It's got everything to do with feeling. Would you say that?
The head feels like anger more. I haven't noticed that there's correlation with thinking.
Mm. Yeah. Well, anger, of course, is feeling, isn't it? There's no thinking involved in anger. It's pure feeling. Mm. I don't quite know how to say this, but I, I want everybody here to be um, able to jump in and add to, but I don't want it to be taken away from whoever's looking at the moment. So, but rather, but if everybody's going to experience something as a result of what's been said, and if what I want is what what might be helpful for, say, in this case, for Ramiz to consider things, but they're things that will get triggered in you, and so ideas, just put them forward, but don't make it about you at this point. We can do that later, kind of thing. But if you have an idea that pops into mind that about what Remiz may be, or in this, or whoever the protagonist is, what may be going on for them, because we have these mirror neurons, and when somebody experiences something, we respond in kind, like that. So whatever comes up for you may be helpful to throw into the pot, so to speak. So do feel free to add, to jump in with anything. Just don't take it away from that person, because you'll get a turn if you want. Yeah. And I say that because I kind of thought, Andre, that you were being triggered somewhere there a while ago. Yeah. Oh, I could be totally imagining it. I don't know. Just anyway, that thought came, and I thought you'll have something to contribute here, but you were keeping quiet because your head was saying something else, probably. Anyway, I'm rambling now. And remember, we're not trying to fix something. We're exploring. It's all a big exploration.
I was actually amazed at how you at the level of curiosity you have towards other people, and that capacity to inquire into what's happening to them, for them, and or for them this space for exploration and for free and attention. Um, because I realized that when some of my stuff when some of my stuff is intense, then I tend to be focused on that mostly, and then um, whatever happens to other people just irritates me, and it's not the doesn't really matter what is happening. It's just they become that part of the world that irritates me. Um, and it's like these windows, they're popping up, it's just like what I see now and what I can reach is sort of, I don't like it, but in a, I don't know, not in a very aggressive way, but in a kind of whimsical way. And then the more sort of appears in my field, that sort of joins that too, being part of the things that I don't like, or things that are affected by the same veil that I have, and they get covered by this veil. I mean, I can totally understand it's a perspective thing, it's a state, it's a whatever. Something is activated, something's triggered. But it's so hard to not um to not what's the word? To not cater to it, to not look
Yeah.
after it in a way. And so during your interaction with Ramiz, I was like, um, I didn't have anything to say. I didn't have anything to add, anything to subtract. All I could feel, I was just I was dancing with my irritation. I was indignation, irritation, whatever that was, and I was like, I'm not. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't want to voice those because they're not. I don't want Ramis to take them um, personally because I know this part of me, and this can. I mean, I don't know. It can upset people, I guess, when I let it go and when I let it go for a walk, and because it's very cynical, skeptical, sarcastic, um, poisonous sometimes, and when I'm actually talking about it, and I realize that I enjoy it. Um, it's a it's I kind of like it, but then I think maybe it's just my way of channeling anger. Because if I didn't have this door for anger, then this anger would just be backfiring on me. Well, at least I can be angry, but in this, you
Yeah.
know, in
Yeah.
this weird way, um, like a grumpy kind of way.
Would you say it's just directed outwards rather than inwards?
Yeah, and I think it's because if I'd rather be directed outwards because I mean, there's a lot of inwards as well. Like um, like I realized that in my life, you were talking about taking care of baby and protecting the baby, and I realized that I some decisions that I make um, are kind of destructive as to, feeding myself, as to looking after myself, this body, right? And or or taking rest, or just sitting with myself if I need, someone to sit with myself.
Mm.
And and I think that is me being angry with me by not giving myself that kind of care and tenderness and not being gentle with myself. That is me being angry with me, but also me being angry with the rest of the world, but not, I don't go around telling people, aggressively, that I am angry with them, like those crazy people outside in the street. I
Mm.
do this, um, looking at them. I'm like that guy, who sits in the street and people come up to him and he draws what do you call them? Caricatures of,
Mm.
like
Mm.
with and this is a way to like it's art, but also it's a way for him to 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 mock, I don't know, to be in a playful way, but be kind of um someone's calling me. What do you want?
Yeah.
And but still be aggressive. Like if
Mm.
you can call someone an asshole, but you can draw a picture of them where their nose is bigger than it is in real life, and it's your way of saying, well, look what a huge, schnob, whatever the funny word in English is, like what a huge nose we have, and that's a way of, it could be light, it could be funny, but also it could contain that kind of um, tint of anger, tint of
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So would
And
you
then
say that yours is directed outward, and Ramiz, would you say that yours is directed inward? They're very broad statements, but yeah, what's the feeling about that?
Both.
Both. Uh, mm.
A question came up, Andre.
Hmm.
Did you have to take care of other people's problems as a child? You know, like your parents, siblings,
More like my
broadly
mother.
speaking.
No. It's more the only I think it's my mother. My mother has been it's and I've I've looked at this thing from all kinds of sides and facets, but it was my mother and she was like part of her was like suffering and she wasn't happy with life with you know whatever life was offering her, she wasn't happy with it. She wasn't happy with three kids. Uh, she wasn't happy with the husband because there could have been and there's always like oh I could have had that instead of what I have. I could have been that instead of where I am. Blah 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 blah. And this part was very active, and I think I was trying to as a child. I because I need my mother alive, right? Because to survive, and if she's not alive, if she's dying, and she dies, and then I die, black and white. And I think I always wanted, and I still probably have that, and it's very strong, the desire to, to cheer, um, um, to make women happy. And the more emotionally distant they are, I think the more it resembles me of the pattern from the childhood. So the more I want to, um, you know, um, go out of my way and just make them happy. So I feel responsible for them, for their happiness, basically. If they're not happy, I didn't do enough. If they're, well, if they're happy, I don't care. If they're not happy, that's when I care. And um and I still there's like guilt, blah blah blah. So that was my taking care of. So um it was like what my mother's child I was taking care of, but not the actual child, but sort of inner child. Um, so, but also like for me at least, the case was because she had both. She had this um, disdainful, sad, dying, whatever part, a victim. Victim has like a little bit of judgment, but she was like this sad person on the one hand. On the other hand, she was like very active, very aggressive, very pushy, bossy, and all that. I am still probably wondering why I am after the other part, not the active one. Um, uh, and I still probably try to. My way of separating was like I couldn't quite separate because there was unfinished business, and probably I'm still sort of separating. Like there's still a hope that I will make her happy. There's still a hope that even she's like what 72 something now, and I will still be able to save her and like I'm not trying to save my dad, that's for sure. And there was never an intention to, but my mom, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. So that's the answer.
I imagine it's like you taken upon yourself her sad part.
Yeah, yeah. And it's also like it's from I understand you. I probably take it as a currency. That's the currency you pay her with, or that's the language you speak, right? If you don't speak the sadness language, that person will not understand you. So you have to be sad. You have to be sad. And that's the thing that interests me so much in other people, especially when they go deep into their pain. That's when I feel like, oh, okay, now we're talking. Like, oh, that's the I have a map of that, right? But when people are more in a happy kind of land, then not so much. But also sometimes I am so fucking disgusted by this whole, pain and all that. And I think part of that was what triggered when Ramiz was talking about, going into that place. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go there now. So I was just like, just go there alone without me. And that's why I didn't have anything to say because I didn't want to go there. I was just protesting it Close that door.
I relate. Well, there was a point in my life where I somehow was playing a role of therapist for my father. And yeah, this was this anger that no matter what I do, I won't heal him. And fuck it, it's not my duty to heal his wounds.
Well, you could
Not
say
my
that
problem.
you actually mean it when you say it, or is it more like an
Uh, it is my anger speaking.
no, but there's like my kind of idea that I have is that maybe there's still part of you that doesn't quite believe it, that hasn't given this up, like I'm probably sort of
Um,
seeing a mirror of my part that is trying to save someone. And even rationally I understand that like it's like it's weird, but there's that other part is still has an agenda, um busy busy I'll save you. I'll save you.
Yeah. Like your head could
I don't
say, it's not my job, but your heart says, I want to.
yeah, or the guts yeah, like you
Mm.
I'll because I've done better in my life. See, I have access to psychology. You haven't had that. I can be a therapist for you, right? I mean, if you were not aware of therapy and things like that, you wouldn't be able to call your role a therapist. You would be like a friend, support, whatever. But even you know so much. Um, because I'm saying this because probably there's still a part of me, and probably this part will always be there until the end of my end of my mother's life. Probably I will still have this idea that well I can still fix it for her.
Mm.
I can.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
just
really interesting thing, you know. Personalities don't change, so those parts will always exist, but they will cease to have control when we recognize them clearly. They will cease to be a promoter of behavior. They will
yeah
simply be something that lives in there. Just they become like artwork on the wall rather than a driver of something. Yeah.
yeah, and it's funny to realize I guess when this desire or intention comes to life, then it's uh, at least in my case, it sometimes makes sense to ask, who is wanting to, who wants to save her now? Who like, how old am I? Or, uh,
Yes.
you know, who is it? Is it like, do I really, is there anyone in this world that I can save? Really? I mean, come on. Apart from me,
Mm.
which is also like super dubious. I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're
So I
thinking
mean,
too much. Yeah,
we're
yeah,
all fucked. Like, why would I spend so much time doing something? It's like, what do you call this guy who is rolling the stone up the hill?
yeah, right, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I've
yeah,
got it.
him, yeah, him.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just, yeah, that word.
Mm. So this seems to me, Ram, is a bit of an inverse to what's going on for you. And so, is there a part of you that wants to save a parent, to help a parent, to make a parent more adept, maybe?
I feel the desire, but it doesn't come as behavior as much.
Is it a desire or a hope?
It's like feeling responsible, but at the same time unable to do anything.
That's a cage, isn't it? That's almost a prison cell, almost. I want, but I can't.
I'll keep trying.
It
Whatever
usually
happens.
comes out more as resentment of and feeling irritated by their complaining.
Mhm.
And especially when they complain about things that they choose.
You mean your parents?
Yeah.
Because they're your parents. You're their child. They are, like Vince used this word today, superior. They are the adults in your relationship. They are the one who are adults. They should be taking care of, not of just themselves, but you, well, until a certain age. And now
Well,
it was that?
I don't think there is adults.
Yeah. At a
Well,
certain
that's
point, it gets turned upside down, doesn't it? And we become the adult and they become the children.
it's a little bit.
Yeah, it's
Why
it's like what we
why would
think how it should be. That parents should be adults and children should be children. But the reality shows us again and again that it's not like that at all.
I think there's some degree of choice where you're able to see this and able to give the responsibility back to them because this is, their life. If they make decisions that are going to, lead to consequences which you don't approve of or you don't like for your life, then what can you do? That's their life, right? I mean, they're your parents. They were here before you. You came after. Like it's kind of you're shifting roles if you think that you are the adult in the relationship with them. I mean, it's totally okay to do that, but it's just like then how do you like where's the room for your life? If you focus so much on fixing their life, then and I think being irritated at them is absolutely natural because like while you would want to invest all this energy into your life and your children and your activity and your passion, you're focused on them and you know trying to fix them, trying to save them, and I mean I'd be fucking pissed at them both at the same time. I'd be pissed and I'd be trying to save them. That's what I've been doing for a long time with my parents.
But this is not a choice we arrive at, is it? This is something that's foisted on us, it seems, and that can get the anger going, can't it? Or the irritability, or the intolerance, or whatever. It's like it's not anything we choose. It just seems to happen.
Yeah, it's like the throat. Like the throat is not only for taking something in, but also when you vomit, right? When you've had enough, like bleh, and you also like, I don't want it.
Yeah.
Fuck you. But
I
not in.
yeah, I felt that's enough. I felt I don't want to deal with their shit anymore. And
It's okay.
I don't think, but it doesn't feel true. It's still, What I hate about it is how I respond. Like, I hate being passive aggressive, resentful. It's painful.
Are you able to afford to be directly aggressive with them and tell them, I don't think you're living a good life. Let me tell you how to live a good life?
I try. I try to
Oh,
speak my opinion, but it's not being considered.
but you keep trying. They don't care about
No,
your
I I
opinion,
I, I give up trying, but I'm still irritated.
but you still keep trying to reach them, right? Like send them emails or messages and
No, for my situation is when my grandma came and she said she's okay, she can stay here. And the next day, she and my mom was complaining about the pain in their legs. The next day, like, and I forced myself not to speak. And I'm still feeling anger at them. And I'm not sitting with my grandma as much as I used to. I I can hardly fake a smile at her, and it's painful. I don't like it, and I don't want to hear her complain anymore. I can't take it.
good enough.
But you know she will, because that's her. That's her nature, that's her personality, and she will complain more. You know that already, don't you?
Yeah, probably.
Not probably, certainly. I mean, we don't really know, of course, but yeah.
Does she have
So
anyone else
we'll,
to complain to? Oh, sorry, Vince.
uh, that's all right. Um, yeah, I guess in Ramiz's situation, if his grandmother complains to somebody else, it'll be his mother, and then they'll both be complaining to him. So there's no escape. I want to reiterate, though, it's quite normal, it's quite human to carry quite contradictory whatever beliefs, desires at the same time. We can hate and we can love at the same time. It's not one or the other, like society keeps saying. We will definitely carry both things, and they don't have to fight each other unless we have the idea that it's one or the other, that it's black or white. It's not. Yeah. So, Ramiz, the inevitability is that what you feel almost is intolerable. You feel yourself right at the very limit of being able to take it anymore, is going to happen again. That must put you in a really difficult situation. What are you going to do? You're going to leave? What are you going to do? You're just going to
What you mean?
tolerate it and feel bad? Even worse? You're going to end up shooting yourself?
I don't know. I'm just hoping that life would take care of itself, I guess.
Yeah.
Can you be a bad son? And a bad grandson. Just want to say a phrase. Oh, Remis doesn't love us anymore. He only cares about himself. He doesn't listen to our stories. We cannot complain to him the way we used to. He's such a bad son.
Why aren't you supporting us, son?
I don't think they would say that. I mean, it would be healthier if they said that and I said, fuck you. Like, it would be nice.
Yes, it would
We
be out there, yeah, and it's not. So it's much more complex, isn't it? Yeah. Because they don't know. You see, they don't have your insight. I mean, I'm imagining they don't. That's just, you know, for them, it's all about circumstances, and their way of approaching it is to always blame something outside of themselves for everything.
which is totally normal for them. There's like nothing
Yes.
needs to be done about it. You don't need to save them. You don't need to enlighten them. You don't need to, drag them to a psychologist and or something. It's just it's their life.
Mm. So,
I can't separate myself from, I mean, I'm being affected by what's happening. Isn't that normal?
yeah, but the different what we want to do here is for you to recognize that those circumstances, them complaining, etc., those circumstances are triggering something in you. And the issue for you is not the circumstances, but how you respond to the circumstances. So, I mean, I'm telling you
Yeah,
something you already know, I guess.
yeah, it's obvious.
Mm. So those circumstances are in fact an opportunity that life is offering you to look at what's inside you, to what drives you, to what motivates you, to whatever. And that trick, that's a turnaround. That says what the circumstances are is not really that relevant. It's what they trigger in you that is what's relevant. So could you imagine, just a fantasy, could you imagine that you've attained some wonderful Zen state and that you just go through life feeling fine about whatever turns up, and they're still complaining and they're going on and on and on and on and on about it. But in your Zen state, it's like water off a duck's back. It just rolls off, and if there are parts of you that actually require a response, not in terms of an emotional response as a running away or hiding or whatever, but a response that says you can actually do something to make it better, But otherwise, if there's no opportunity for you to respond in a way to change things or to contribute, it just doesn't affect you. It's just there outside of you. It's just like the breeze outside the house. It's just there. So because of this magical, wonderful Zen state that you've achieved, it's no longer triggering in you all of these emotions, all of these conflicting emotions. You want to fix it, you can't tolerate it at the same time. Yeah. That doesn't happen. It's just like you go, oh, okay, there they go again. Complaining, complaining, complaining. It's their nature to do that, isn't it? Okay, that's just the way they are. Doesn't mean anything. It's just the way they are. It's the same as the way they do their hair or the clothes that they wear. They just wear this attitude towards life of complaining. And it rolls off you and you're unaffected by it. Can you imagine? Can you have a fantasy that is possible?
I'm not always irritated by their complaining. I think recently is because I warned them. I told them, you're gonna complain. And I don't want you to complain again. And they complain.
You gave them permission to. Yes. Yeah. So it's inevitable, isn't it? You recognize the inevitability of their complaining. It is their nature to do that. And their nature is not going to change because they're not seeking to change. So they will continue to complain. They'll continue to complain until the day they die. So what you just said was, I thought, a big thing. You do have your moments when you see that they're just complaining, it's just them, and it's not actually an issue for you at all. It's not about you. You don't have to fix it. You can just watch it happening.
Yeah, there was moments.
Mm. So when you have those moments, and as short as they may be, whatever, there is something that drags you back into that helpless state, that state of victimhood, that state of having to tolerate it, that state of wanting to resist it. What is it? Where is that hook that drags you back into that state, out of that wonderful state of, I don't know, objectivity, if you might want to call it that?
I think feeling not enough.
Okay. Not, when you say not enough, you mean not able to fix it for them?
Not, not necessarily about them, just being like whatever I'm doing is not enough.
Not enough to what? Just first thing that comes to mind.
To feel safe.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
Ramesh, you said you sometimes get angry with like angry, not just irritated or passive aggressive. Is that like, can you remember that moment, or like when you,
Yeah.
is that okay to be angry with them? Like, can you
No,
is Ramiz good when he's angry with his parents or grandma? Is he enough?
it feels wrong, but I don't have a belief about it. I don't know.
You need a permission for this to feel right?
No, not about the feeling, but expressing it.
So it's okay to be angry. It's not okay to express it with them. Like really angry. Like, you know, like when the lid is almost coming off. Like, can they really piss you off? Like, you know,
Yeah, there's a few times I got really angry, and it was very ugly.
who says? I think it's beautiful. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I'm sure it's beautiful.
Felt painful.
Painful from resisting?
It's actually weird. It's like feeling angry feels more exposed somehow.
Visible. Notice.
Hmm.
Noticeable?
Feeling angry is showing yourself, or rather, expressing anger is showing yourself, not feeling it. Yeah.
I notice you're smiling. Is it
I remember once. It's funny now, but it wasn't back then. I got very angry once, and I throw a bottle of water at my mom.
You threw the water or the whole bottle?
The bottle itself.
Oh, wow. Right.
It didn't hit her, but
That was you losing control of your anger.
yeah. Actually, I felt like I committed a crime.
Or you did. You definitely did. Yeah. You transgressed the rules of society.
thou shall not toss a bottle of water at your mother, right? That's what the Bible says. But there's one stage before that where before you throw the bottle, there's a straight stage where you can still use the words.
Yeah, I did.
How do you skip that? How do you or or you
Or
did or
maybe
you
Maybe he did express the words and they failed, and that's why it
Oh,
developed into the other. Who knows? Yeah, yeah. I'm interested in why it was so serious at the time and why you now see it as funny.
I don't know.
It's not actually funny, but here you are laughing. So yeah, isn't
It
it?
is funny.
Yeah, okay. So
No,
what's
it
funny?
isn't.
What's funny about it? Because it's so
holy
out of
water.
character for you?
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. No, we don't need an answer, but it's good to contemplate. That's an interesting twist, I think. Yeah. What are your thoughts,
Uh,
Louise? Yeah. Yeah.
I related to this, that being angry is being more exposed, expressing anger, because you are risking consequences. It it will turn against you, and I think I had to go through this. Oh, I don't care about consequences, be it what it be. But yes, it was losing the invisibility.
Yes. Yeah, invisible
Well,
is safe, isn't it? Sorry, Andre.
no, that's fine. I was just actually gonna say that because and I have anger is one of the highlights of my lifelong research, I guess, internal. And I because I think that because we miss the tiny they're like stages basically. Well, they're not really stages. They're more like as the anger builds up. It starts as a small tiny irritation that I sometimes tend to miss. I don't see it. Well, I just like, oh, I didn't like it, but I didn't like something, but I just ignored it. And then if I ignore this sighing of anger or expression of it, then it offers a slightly more exposed version, like a louder version of it, and it could be uh, like an anger or something in between. And then if I ignore that, then it manifests itself as rage, and there are like I don't know, I'm sure there are like gradations. There are different sort of what would you call them? Stages, I guess.
Mm.
So each one that is ignored basically adds up to the next one, and next one, and next one, and the next one, and then that's when you throw a bottle at your next of kin or your mother or your wife or your dog or your
Yeah,
child.
yeah, yeah. You snap. Yeah,
Yeah, you snap, and that's
yeah,
but then just seeing that I don't like admitting to myself that well I don't like it. There's something in me that doesn't like it. It doesn't feel good. It just and that could be it could be it could itself, by noticing that and expressing that, sometimes is enough for the anger not to turn into this monster, where you
yeah,
have to, destroy
yeah,
someone in order to, um, yeah, express it,
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess.
And that's what we're doing here in a way. We're wanting to know ourselves intimately enough to recognize that first step, that when that annoyance turns up and immediately not get sucked into what it's about, but recognizing that it's triggered something in us, and then we look at that and it dissolves, and then so the overall concept of that happening is that Zen state where we go, just life, it's okay, everything's all right, everything's as it should be. or however we want to express it. So it's learning about ourselves is what we're doing here, learning about what triggers us, learning about our inclinations.
Hi. This reminds me of the triggers that I get with my autistic son. I know we've talked about this many times, but it has really changed over the last 2 months, I would say. And like the anger just rises up. It just gets so so triggered. Well, it did. I noticed it hasn't so much recently, but there was something that would kick in that knew that it was inappropriate, that it was not okay to take it out on this boy. What used to pop up though is in here. It would get worse if there was other people around. And just doing this work recently, I was quite curious. Wonder what that is. It's like a self-pity. Like there was verbal, poor me. I've got to put up with this, blah, blah, blah. Do you see how bad it is? Blah, blah, blah. But that's all gone. It's just not there anymore. It's really quite amazing how that's dissolved. So the triggers come up. I mean, they're quite, I could tell you something and you could see it from a compassionate point of view. Well, he's autistic and he can't verbalize it and blah, blah, blah. But for some reason, it still triggers in me. And it comes back to what you said before, that you can love somebody and you want to help them, but, you still get so triggered. And I'm like that with my parents too. And the only thing that's different, and I think I mentioned this the other day, is that when that feeling comes up, because I know it can't burst out, I know I can't physically outburst, and I used to go into rages quite. I used to throw a lot of things around actually, because that's what I learned as a child. That's what my mum used to smack me and hit me with slippers and throw things at me, and I thought that's how you. Well, I never did that with my children, but I thought that's how you expressed anger. But it is literally that feeling, that sensation comes up, and it is literally just sensing the space here. I'm in the kitchen. I'm looking at his lips or his eyes or his hair or the tabletop. It's just coming down from here. But I'm not forcing it. I'm not doing it on purpose. It just been happening just to get back to right this moment. And then something happens, it just subsides. So it's been quite amazing. It's been really, and I've just been able to calm down enough to then explain when he's calmed down as well, just that, maybe we could say things different, we could do things differently. Yeah, it's a totally different situation. Totally. Yeah.
Could you give some of that to Ramiz?
No, I resonate with exactly what he's saying. I've got it with my parents at the moment. I'm doing some shadow work, and I love them to bits, and I know they're good people. They love me. They would do anything for me. But on the other hand, I can't be on the phone for more than 5 minutes because I get triggered. And genuinely, my heart doesn't want that. My heart wants to be.
Yeah.
Someone said, well, maybe you need to do the work when, one day when they've gone. I'm like, I don't want to wait. I don't think, I hear what you say about having a relationship with your dad. Now he's not here. And I just think, if that can happen with my son, and lots of other things have happened, I'm sure. What is it that it's these two people in the whole wide world that the only thing is that we come from biologically, well, not always biologically either, is it?
No.
There's some attachment and responsibility. Like I would love to just, and I have actually raged in front of my parents. In fact, towards the end of my bad drinking, I really, they saw exactly what it was all like. There was no filters on that at all. Yeah, it's just, but if it was two other people, it wouldn't have happened. It's, there's almost like some
Yes, yeah.
some safety in letting it out in front of them.
Yeah. Well, I it's just a story here, but I think that family, we have permission to not have filters with each other.
Yeah.
If that's the normal, it may not be the normal, maybe, but yeah, boundaries are different with family. So yeah, and it's very vague stuff, but yeah, there's something special about family that allows or that even promotes that stuff to happen. So
Yeah.
what comes to mind here, Louise, is that what you have with your son now, you could easily also have with your parents, but somehow
I know that here.
yeah. There's that bit
Yeah.
that says that's okay with my son, but not with my parents, or something. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It will bleed over. The same
Yeah.
principle it's in you. You know about it. You see,
Mm-hmm.
because of it's
Yeah.
part of your experience. You just need to transfer or
Yeah.
extend or whatever the actuality is of that. Extend it from
Yeah.
your son to the whole world, and especially your
But
parents.
there's something that keeps coming up. I listened to a recording. I can't remember if it was the last one or whatever, but you were talking about what it feels like to feel like being home. And I mean, everyone's got their own descriptions, but there was what keeps coming up is it's like just bobbing on the water, on the surface of the water. Like there's nothing. You're just arms out, and there's just, you don't need to do anything. You just you're just bobbing around. But what comes up in those moments is like, I know it sounds really morbid, but it's like if this was the last interaction that you had with somebody, and then like there's a real softening. There's
Yeah.
actually a real softening that happens.
Mm.
Because then you realize that all the other stuff isn't important.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's been happening more and more. Like it's only for now or only for today.
Yeah. That's a good one. Good. People will remember the last thing that happened always. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's an old saying, I don't know where it comes from, but it's a good one, and that is that we should treat every single moment like it's our last moment.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the exact saying, but it's something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So and then that just keeps popping up, and when it does, and the thought of having to continue with that resentment or with that anger or what it doesn't make sense.
Yes.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it puts it into a different perspective when we think that if this is the last one, then all of that other shit doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I've got.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Thank you. Mm. So I guess one of the things that happens here is that when I hear you speak, or any of you, I'm hypersensitive to blockages that might be there, kind of thing. And my feeling with you is there are no blockages. Things are going great. I love it. I love what you're doing. I love your experiencing of what it is, and it will just continue to grow. Yeah, great. I love it. Thank you.
I'm sure the blockages will come up when they need to.
Yeah, and if I see them, I'll certainly jump on them if I see them
Please
for
do.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very willing.
Yeah,
Just something else that is it Maja
yeah, Maya.
talked about. Maya, sorry, Maya. Just very quickly, you talked about being an airplane, being bored, and I used to travel a lot for work, and I remember um, I had some kind of realization many, many years ago. And I remember whenever I got on an aeroplane and they announced that they were going to be an hour or 2 hours delayed, I would be the happiest person on the plane because it could just be. And everybody else was moaning and groaning and around me. And you just reminded me of that the other day when you talked. I was very happy. 2 more hours, had no responsibility.
Yeah, this is this fun time. Fun time for me, doing nothing.
Mhm.
For me, it was put in words. You are allowed to die now.
Okay. Well, yeah.
But it's the same. No more responsibilities.
Yes, yes. A metaphorical release of the self. I love it. Yeah. Mm. So have you had any more discoveries, Maya, since last time we spoke?
Small ones. You encouraged me to, your reaction encouraged me to look further for unpleasant moments. So now, whenever something unpleasant shows up, I'm there for it. I run into it.
Great, great, great. That is such a
I don't
huge
know.
thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
This morning, something, and this evening, talking to my mom on the phone. She doesn't have anything to say. She just repeats all the same thing. But I call every morning, every evening. It's a routine. And in the evening, she starts talking about the weather and the cat. These are two topics she has left. And the weather was uh, blue, or it was gray, or it was white. And it's boring to talk to her. And I felt boredom. And I think, wow, okay. I just stay listening to my mom. Yes, yes. Enjoying the boredom, watching the boredom.
Yeah,
And I think, okay, I'm here for it. I'm here for the boredom,
great.
for irritation, for anything.
Yeah, yeah, great stuff. Boredom is so interesting. Yeah, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I'm like I'm having a tennis racket in my hand and just smashing. Oh, this irritation here, smash. That one there, smash.
good one. Yeah.
That's it, basically.
So maybe instead of batting them away with the tennis racket, you need one of those baseball mitts where you catch it and hold it.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Well, yeah, I stay with them. I stay with the sensation, and I notice the thoughts if there are
yeah,
some. So
yeah.
this is what I do, and I really run actively into them. Oh, there's
Yeah.
irritation. Yeah, how nice.
That is such a huge thing. Yeah, yeah, that's excellent. Yeah. I mean, we've been conditioned and trained all of our life to run away, and to be able to
Yeah.
turn around and go towards is just absolutely amazing and brilliant and lovely and excellent in every way.
Mm.
Yeah.
Let's see what comes out of it.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, well, I reckon that 2.5 hours since breakfast time here. So what if we wind up, eh? Thank you.
Thank you.
It almost
Thank
seems
you.
boring for me to say it, but you know, hundreds and hundreds of, well, not hundreds and hundreds, but hundreds of sessions later, I still have to say every single one of them has been great. Is so good. It's so meaningful. Yeah, I love it.
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.